I want to ask the Minister for Justice to outline whether the government intends to hold a referendum as to whether the people agree to opt out or indeed opt in or out in the EU Pact on migration and asylum, and should make a statement on the matter, please.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Deputy. Just to assure you that I'm fully committed to ensuring that our international protection system is robust, that it's rules-based, that our borders are protected. A core part of my role as Minister for Justice is, of course, to uphold the Constitution at all times, and I will always do that. The new EU Asylum and Migration Pact is a game-changer, I believe, for Ireland. It was agreed in December last, approved by the European Parliament last month. The Pact was carefully negotiated over several years to significantly reform the current approach to migration and asylum, both in Ireland but across the EU. It will do so by providing a strong, cohesive legislative framework to address the challenges that we are facing in this area. It will speed up the processing of international protection applicants so that we have a firm and fair system. It will make it easier to return those who are found not to be entitled to protection. It will introduce greater security checking of applicants. It will reduce the volume of secondary movement and make it easier to transfer applicants to member states responsible. It will reduce the time spent in state-provided accommodation and support the return of people found not to be entitled to protection. All of that requires systemic cooperation. We can't manage it on our own. We need cooperation, and we need other countries to be willing to accept people who shouldn't be processed here. The Pact offers us all in Europe a real opportunity to work together to design a system that's fair but firm, based on a fair sharing of responsibility, but one that works for everyone. Opting into the Pact is a very positive opportunity for Ireland to achieve coordinated and wide-reaching reform in a key area of public interest. I can assure the Deputy that the Pact does not contain any provisions that require a constitutional referendum. As measures governed by Protocol 21 of the EU Treaty, the request by Ireland to opt in requires the prior approval of both houses under Article 29.4.7 of the Constitution. The Government recently approved my proposal to seek that approval, and I intend to do so next week, where we will have debates in both this House and the Seanad as well.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy.
Minister, the Pact, as I said, Ireland have the opportunity to opt out or opt in, thanks to the people voting a second time in Lisbon, and we achieved that last time. So, as I said, even the moderate, like Polish Prime Minister, President Donald Tusk, is saying that he won't take any. And the legal basis of Ireland to opt out and the Migration Treaty, as I said, is contained under Lisbon. And I believe this is a serious violation of our sovereignty, and indeed of our national sovereignty. The decision on when we wanted to accept or who we want to accept made neither for the Irish authorities or by Irish law, but would be made by non-elected people in the European headquarters. And that is a serious situation, and why the public are so worked up about this, and rightly so, because it cedes our sovereignty. You can't say otherwise. The fact that you will not put it to the people and allow the people to decide, you're passing to both houses of the Oireachtas, where you have a contrived majority and you know you get what you want, and limited time and committee. So the people need to have their say in this, and the people rightly feel that they have this right as a result of Lisbon 2, where they voted, you were supposed to put it to the country, not you, but the government at the time, a second time.
Deputy Minister.
Treaty, and what they voted for was the right for Ireland to opt in. The only constitutional requirement following on from that vote is that both houses would adopt or would vote on any decision taken to opt into any measure, and we've done that recently on one occasion only in the last few weeks in relation to people smuggling or human trafficking. We opted in to engage in a closer way with our colleagues across Europol and across their policing systems across the EU. What we're proposing to opt into here is an updating of a system that we're already a part of. So we have been a part of an asylum system in the EU for many, many years now. It has not impacted on our sovereignty in any way, shape or form. We have our own laws here, we apply them. What we're trying to do, though, is become more harmonised to make sure that we don't have different systems operating across the EU, that we're working collectively and that we're able to respond collectively. I believe that's the best way to respond to what is a challenging situation. But above all, it's the best way to make sure that people who genuinely need protection in the EU, that they get it.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy.
Minister, Ireland or indeed Denmark can opt out or opt into the Pact. And the stark reality of the EU Migration Pact, designed to streamline so-called migration policies and address the challenge of asylum seekers, means Ireland's are ceding control over their borders and, of course, immigration procedures. And Minister, Slovakia have done an estimate to the costs if they don't take in the migrants, and they are forced to pay we're told 20,000, and Slovakia have put an estimate on that, it might cost them 7.5 billion annually. Us, by our GDP here in this country, being strong at the moment, and thankfully it is, but a lot of it is due to the multinationals. So we will have to pay far more, and far more than Slovakia or other countries, because of our strong GDP figures. So this is totally uncharted waters, and it's totally the reason why we need it properly debated, properly accounted for. And Minister, in my last 10 seconds, I ask you again on the floor of this House, will you publish the Attorney General's advice regarding your decision not to proceed to have a referendum on this matter?
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Again, Attorney General's advice is never published, but we, in joining the Lisbon Treaty or in voting for the Lisbon Treaty, did so with the full knowledge that migration is an EU competence and that we can choose to opt in. We can't opt out, but we can choose to opt into these measures, so there's nothing being forced upon us, so there is no need for a referendum. In terms of the figures, so the figures that we have for the distribution, if we were to apply it in the first year, 648 people, or else €12,960,000, it would actually be cheaper for us to pay that €12,960,000 than what it is currently costing us to process and to house somebody for a year if we were to take that particular timeline. So it is a significant cost for somebody to come here, to process them, to accommodate them. What we're talking about is a system that would mean people are here for less time, therefore the cost in processing them but also in accommodating them would be much less. So this should be an overall decrease in the amount of money that we're spending on immigration.
Thank you.